Good morning and good afternoon to those of you out there on the East Coast. I'm Jonathan Alexander, your News Arizona reporting. Um, Today we have entered day 31 of our government shutdown. There's no end yet in sight, and it's just continuing to go on and on and on. Um, Today I'd like to share with you guys a little bit of Mike Johnson's report and where he spoke out about the shutdown. And I'm going to go ahead and share that with you guys this morning.
A word of sincere gratitude. Across this country, we've got millions of federal workers who have been showing up at the office every day without pay. This has drug on for a month now. Those federal workers have shown up for a month straight, not knowing when or if their next paycheck will be delivered. They're doing their jobs, and they're doing it valiantly, while the Senate Democrats simply refuse to do their job. Their most simple and basic responsibility is to keep the government in operation so that we can keep the services flowing to the American people and keep the country moving. But they're not doing that. So we just want to say to these federal workers, like the hundreds of civilian employees who are also spread throughout the country, like the ones in my district, for example, at the Bain Jones Army Community Hospital down at Fort Polk, our big Army base there. We just want to say thank you for your diligence, for doing your job, for your service to the country, even though Democrats are withholding your paycheck. They are shameless in doing so. Throughout this shutdown, President Trump and his administration have done everything in their power, as we relay to you here every day, example after example. They've done everything they can to mitigate and reduce the harm to the American people. He's gone out of his way to find creative solutions to ensure our service members don't miss a paycheck, for example, to ensure that the WIC program, that the nutrition assistance to women, infants, and children is still flowing. President Trump has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that if there is any way to fund these programs that are drying up now, that he will do it. If there was any way to fund SNAP during the Democrat shutdown, you can be assured that your commander-in-chief would do it. But we are now reaching a breaking point. Thanks to Democrats voting no on government funding now 14 different times, SNAP benefits for millions of American families are drying up. It's about 1 in 8 people in this country who rely upon this to literally put food on their table. And the blame for this lies 100% with the senators sitting over there on the Democrat Party. They are the ones who have locked arms and decided over and over and over and over, 14 times now, to vote against these services being provided. And now I want you to think about that. You're going to have real people, real families. You're going to have children who will go hungry beginning this weekend when those resources dry up. They rely upon that, and yet the Democrats continue with their political games in Washington while people are sitting around the dinner table without the resources that they need.
So, that's something for everybody to be thinking about what he just said there. We got millions of families that's going to be probably going without this Thanksgiving due to this government shutdown. This is affecting a lot of American people, a lot of your retired people, your people with disabilities. This is definitely affecting everybody, um, especially the people that are depending upon SNAP benefits. Um, so this matter is just continuing to just progress and get a lot worse. The Democrats do not seem to want to come to the table and negotiate. They're set on one thing and one thing only, and that's to make sure that these illegals in this country are housed, fed, and all their medicals taken care of. And for the American people, we cannot endure this radical behavior from the Democrats. President Trump, I'm quite proud of in the House for not giving in to the Democrats, giving them what they wanted. Um, And, this is where it's at, America. This is where the people have got to take a stand to this, find other means, because we have got to shut this radical behavior from the Democrats just totally down. We've got to shut it down, guys. Um, I just got done watching another report today on Kamala Harris. I'd like to share that with you guys here in a minute. Um, Kamala Harris has been, making a lot of comments like she's going to run for president again. So I'd like to share with you guys a little bit. Um, I believe it was an Australian reporter that interviewed her. I want to share that with you guys and just get you guys' thoughts on this. I'm going to go ahead for you guys out there live on Facebook. I'm going to go ahead and add a comment section here for you guys. And I'd like to hear you guys' comments on this matter as well. And just give me your thoughts on it. There, went ahead and added the comment section there. And I'm going to go ahead and play that broadcast from Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, welcome to 7:30.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
I want to go back to election night eve.
Yes.
You'd gone into that day feeling optimistic, but then you get a call from your campaign manager. I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't think you're going to get there. How did you feel in that moment?
I was in a complete state of shock. And so much so that the only words I could speak over and over again were, my God, my God, my God. I knew what it was going to mean for my country. I knew what it was going to mean for my country.
And what about you in that moment too?
You know, it was, I have not felt an emotion similar to how that felt, except for maybe a heavier degree, but similar to when my mother died. I felt a level of grief for my country. I knew what was going to happen. I knew what was going to happen. And that's how I felt. It was very painful. It wasn't about winning or losing. It was an altogether other thing that was about what will happen.
You say it's not about losing, but losing is awful.
Losing what is what I would propose. One can lose something, and that can be frustrating. This was about my country and the people. I knew he meant what he said about weaponizing the Department of Justice against his political enemies. I knew what he meant around what it would be in terms of how he felt about January 6th and whether he believed in even the efficacy of that election and what he would do around releasing the January 6ers. I knew what he would do around treating these agencies as though they were an extension of his corporation for his personal benefit. I knew what he would do about interactions with foreign heads of state that would be about flattery and favor. I knew that these things would happen. I knew he would give tax cuts immediately to the richest people, and meanwhile has no sense of appreciation for the policies we've created around affordable health care for working people.
Then how consequential was it for America, for American democracy, that President Biden made the decision to run for a second term?
I think that there was an impact. I write in the book in many different ways. We needed more time. And had we more time, perhaps the outcome would have been different. And that is a fact. I think it's an undeniable fact.
You say in the book that it was reckless for you not to intervene on that decision to run again, given the stakes. How could you leave the decision to Joe Biden and Jill Biden?
As I write, and this book really is about it's candid. I offer a lot of candor around what I did and what I believe I could have done and should have done differently, and what was at play overall. And so as I write, I reflect on not talking him out of running and why I didn't. And I ask myself, was it grace or was it recklessness on my part? And I think it was reckless.
You were one of the people in the room.
And there were many, obviously, who were
Of course,
in this
of course,
category.
we understand
But-
that.
And I say, but I
Sorry about that. Forgot to unmute my mic. I want you guys to keep in mind Kamala Harris right there says that that was reckless on her part. Um, Here in a second, she is going to totally contradict what she just said and pretty much say that she's seen that Joe Biden had no problem. I want you guys to keep this in mind when you listen to this part. Give me 1 second here. There.
I go on to say that part of the reason I didn't is I don't believe in having a conversation for the sake of getting something off my chest.
Sure.
It's about making it productive.
Mhm.
And I believed that were I to raise it with the president, it would have been it would have appeared to be so completely self-serving that it would have been counterproductive.
And yet you now call it reckless.
I think that in retrospect, it was a conversation I should have raised, even if it were ill-received.
Didn't you also have a responsibility? You were one of the people in the room. You saw, notwithstanding that you said that he was able to execute his job, but you knew he was asking for 4 more years. Didn't you have a responsibility as an American to step up and say something at that point?
I did not question Joe Biden's capacity to be president at all.
For 4 more years?
I did not question his capacity. I saw him in the Oval Office, in the Situation Room, meeting with world leaders on a daily basis. And I did not have any question about that. My concern...
Even up to 2028?
Correct. My concern... Well, I mean, I can speak for up until
Sure.
2024. And
But I guess what I'm asking is, you saw how he was. You saw some of the deficits, notwithstanding.
my concern was whether he had... running for president of the United States in a nation of 330 million people is an extraordinary feat about energy and endurance, and especially talking about running against the person who's now in the White House, and doing it with the heavy responsibility of being the sitting president. And that was my concern about whether, I talk about running for president. Some people say, oh, it's a marathon. No, I would call it a marathon running at a sprinter's pace with tomatoes, I'm in England, tomatoes being thrown at you every step you take.
But wasn't Joe Biden, then, to put it on him, wasn't his refusal to recognize his own frailties the reason that you faced a nearly impossible task?
Sorry about that. Me and this darn mic. So, what I was trying to say here is, it's quite obvious that, you know, Kamala Harris is basically implying that Joe Biden was doing just fine. He would have been competent to handle another 4 years. There's no way. I mean, everybody knows the man was a wacko. He didn't have his shit together. I mean, it's point blank and clear. Um, but yet now she acts like he did have it together. This is all for a book that she's writing. Let's keep that in mind as well. But that's a real good thing for her to be saying, when she's getting ready to run for president again. That's what she's been implying out there to a lot of the different networks. But if you think about the way she's responding here in this interview, it's quite obvious that, she's stating that Biden did have it together. And we all definitely know different from that. We've seen it, we've witnessed it. You look at what this country's been turning into. It's, we've got a lot of people, Islam religion, that's been running for office, just like the guy out in New York City, which I want to get to that in a second for you guys. You know, we've got a lot of trouble in this country. It's like, since when did it become a country to where all people of different from different countries and different beliefs start running for power like this? Especially people with the Islam religion. I'm totally against it, and I'll say it. I am against it. I don't believe they have any business here in America, let alone in any kind of power. And maybe some of you guys will disagree with me on that, but I know what they stand for, and I'm just going to leave it there and try not to get too much hate mail saying these kind of comments. But anyways, I do want to play the guy out in New York City that's been running for office. I want to play that for you guys here. Get that out there. And we'll go ahead and share this with you.
Of free stuff, driving them to the polls. But like most of us, we learned at a young age, there's no such thing as free. Somebody else has to pay for it. And as the saying goes, the problem with socialism, that eventually you run out of other people's money. It's exactly what mom and pop landlords are worried about. Mondani's housing policy could destroy their businesses and dry up all the funds. Small landlords are already reeling from higher inflation, steeper mortgage rates, not being able to raise rents to keep up with rising costs, maybe the nail in the coffin. That means no money for renovations, improvements, or expansion. It will also make it nearly impossible for owners to sell in this city. Kevin, this will fall on deaf ears, these cries for please don't.
So pragmatically, I and others who invest in real estate have tried to get a meeting to figure out what's rhetoric and what's policy. So far for me, it's been crickets. I think it's a mistake on his part. I'm a rational person. I'm only interested in one thing, and I think he has to address this. I get it what he's doing on the rhetoric, everything for free and rents don't go up. What happens on new builds? We need to build a new building. So let's say we need 20% more affordable housing. Love to invest in that. So we go to the debt and we go to the equity markets to do that. So my simple question to him is, look, I understand what you're trying to do, and you got to get elected, but tell me how you're going to do this. I got to put $50 million into a building to build it, just to get it going. And the market's going to want probably somewhere between an 8 and 11% return on the construction financing. And then when I stabilize it, they'll be happy with 7-8% return. You're telling me I have to have frozen rent rates, even going into 3% inflation. How am I going to be able to raise any money for a new build? not just me, anybody. How can anybody, including you, by the way, you, Mr. Free for Everything guy, how are you going to get that money out of the market when the return is negative? Now, what is the answer to that? Because people should ask themselves, how are we going to get a new building to live in or to have an office in or a store in the city of New York, which is in itself a country, when there's a zero return policy, a negative return policy on capital? Now, that's what's going on here. So if you're thinking of voting for this guy, you're going to continue to live in rat holes as they deteriorate, but worse, there'll be no new builds.
Right.
Zero.
Yeah.
So I think he should, maybe not me, doesn't want to talk to me, no problem.
Well, he doesn't want to talk to you because he can't answer that question. Like,
Well-
there's no answer to the question you just posed to him.
I've got,
that he
you know
will
what I
have
want?
for
What
you.
I want to do is sit him down and say, look, I got millions of followers, great American entrepreneurs, families, millions of them. You don't have to go on TV and talk about this. Come on my TV. Let's just record an interview together, and I'll post it, and you explain what you're going to do here to attract capital. And I'm the first $1 million check.
You know, there is a affordable housing industry in New York. A friend of mine is a builder of that sort of stuff. It's incredibly complicated. I'm not going to profess any knowledge of it. There is a way to get a vig out of it, okay, to get some money out of it. And it's incredibly tedious. It's tedious. There's a lot of different government agencies you have to
Not when there's a
But-
0% chance of raising rents against inflation.
But, you know, we don't. It's hard for him to raise rents as it. If raise rents as it, I'm not defending him, by the way. He's just going to make it worse. The question is not to add to the system that is already in place now. Is how do you free markets to build stuff? Because there is land there's marshlands in the Bronx. Why can't we build some affordable housing there?
Never sue the other driver after a car accident. There's a better way to get paid a way bigger check with
All right, guys. So the reason why I wanted to share that short video with you guys, you know, I know this does not affect all states right now, but keep in mind, you know, this is what the American people are voting in to office today. And this guy that's running out in New York City, he has a powerful lead in the election. Here, I've got it in the screen for you guys. But, you know, he's got a big lead in the election right now going on. And with that being said, chances are he's going to end up having control out there in New York City. And what I want you guys to keep in mind, you know, this keeps going from state to state to state. And, you know, if we continue this here in America, you know, we are going to be nothing but having extremists in power, like these people right here that you're seeing. And, you know, this is not the future that I want personally for America. And I don't think you guys should want this as well. It needs to come to an end. And I'm going to go ahead and totally get rid of that. Sorry about that. But this is where we're at here in America. And we need to find a way to put a stop to this. I mean, this has got to end. So if you guys can hear me okay on my volume, give me a thumbs up or something. Let me know you're hearing me. All right. Oh, this keeps going from state. All right, just wanting to make sure. I had to check for myself, guys. Sorry. But anyways, this is kind of where this country's at, and we're seeing a lot more of this radical, just radical people running for office, and they're being put in power. And again, we've got to get out. We've got to vote. Our voices have got to be heard. We've got to be able to stop this from happening here in America. Because when you give these kind of people complete power in those states, you know, I fear for the American people, and what's happening all across America. You just kind of like the radical Democrats. You look at what they're doing right now. They've got our government shut down. We're at day 31 of this shutdown. There's no end in sight for this. It's just continuing and continuing and continuing. And at this point, I'm starting to get pretty aggravated about it because it's the American people who are the ones that are suffering from this. And nobody's putting a stop to it. Nobody, none of the Democrats seem to even care. You know, um, maybe when they go without a paycheck long enough themselves is when they will start caring. But I don't see that even happening. Not at this point. Um, there's people of high power that's paying these guys to keep this shutdown going, and I know they're being funded elsewhere from other organizations out there to help these Democrats continue with this kind of a shutdown. But you look at all the people in the government that's not getting paychecks right now, even including our military. Um, I know there was a large donation that was made for the military personnel so that they did get one paycheck. Um, but how many people are just going to continue giving out donations like that to fund our military while the shutdown continues? So, um, other than that, guys, I just wanted to do a quick broadcast. Been testing a lot of the studio equipment. We were just now finishing up in the studio. Got a background back here that's going to be going across. It's going to be a nice display, and just trying to test out the sound equipment. I am looking for someone that wants to help in the studio, that can be able to run the different links that we need to be able to share out there versus me trying to do broadcasting, sharing links, remembering to unmute the mic each time that I'm doing it. I need someone that can be able to do that and help in the studio. So if you guys are anywhere around Arizona, or I can be able to share a way to where you can enter my studio from another area and help run the different shows that we're doing, I'll show you how to do it. I've got it all figured out. I just got to remember how to how to mute my mic and do all that kind of stuff at the same time. so, um, anyways, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone to work with me on this, to where I can quit pausing, looking down at some computer, and sharing different broadcasts with you guys from different news stories I want to get out there, to where somebody else can just click of a button, get it up there for me, so I can get it out there to you guys. So, anyways, if you guys want to sign up for the job, give me a call, and you can reach me at the studio 928-385-4738, or drop me an email at yournewsarizona@gmail.com, and just let me know that you're interested in working with us and helping run the studio. So, other than that, happy Halloween to all you guys out there. God bless you, Patriots. And again, um, just keep this country in your thoughts and prayers, and pray for this nation. I mean, we're in a lot of trouble, folks. All right. This is Jonathan Alexander reporting live with Your News Arizona. And we'll see you guys again this evening. And try to have a great day.